30?
Plus, yeah, I haven't counted all of it.
Oh, are you serious? There's only like 6 when I walked in.
There's about a dozen.
Are you?
Good. They were talking.
Is that my sign? No gavel today, so we'll just knock on tabletop. We're here to call to order the Urban Renewal Agency meeting for Wednesday, August 6, 2025. If we could please have a roll call.
My apologies, I was slightly distracted. You did say Urban Renewal Agency, correct?
I did.
Okay, thank you. So I'm just gonna call by last name if that's okay. Todd?
Present.
Copeland?
Here.
Owen?
Here.
Dennerline?
Present.
Marker?
Here.
Weber? Here. And Chair Cooperman.
Here. Okay, first item of business, approve the 2020-2021 fiscal year corrective action plan. I believe that is going to be our fantastic finance director taking over for that one.
Thank you. Good evening, councilors and Mr. Mayor. Before you have the corrective action plan for the 2020-21 audit. Just to remind you, during the audit presentation, you were told that the auditors did have findings for the audit. And the state does require that municipalities with deficiencies to adopt and file a plan of action with the Secretary of State. Before you is the corrective action plan or a plan of action that will be filed with the state once you approve that plan tonight. Do you have any questions? It's pretty short, sweet, and straightforward.
It is. Does anybody have any questions on the first urban renewal item? Nope. Okay. We're good. You need a motion at the, is this? Yes, we will need a motion for this if there's no further discussion, or is there any further information?
No further information.
At this point, we will entertain a motion.
I make a motion we approve URP 2-5.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, authorize a development grant, Crescent Studios. We're back. This is gonna be fun.
Okay, good evening, board. I'm Sarah Sullivan, the Community Development Director. And Nate, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey, I'm Nate Midgley and I'm the project manager.
And
Nice to see you.
Nate and I have been sort of tag teaming the Urban Renewal Grant Program, working with applicants to put together applications and bring them forward for the Urban Renewal Agency. So this evening, we are returning to the board with a modified request to grant an urban renewal grant to Crescent Studios. So adopting the resolution that's included in your packet would approve the grant for tenant improvements for the photography studio located at the corner of Village and Market under the clock tower. And The resolution does not include the specific dollar amount, but will review the requested dollar amount at the conclusion of the presentation. And just to give a little bit of a summary of where the urban renewal grant budget is for this fiscal year, $300,000 was allocated in the budget for this program for the current fiscal year. There were a couple of grant applicants from the previous fiscal year whose projects took a little bit longer than anticipated, and we haven't paid all of those out yet. So once those two projects are complete and have been reimbursed, it leaves $255,245 remaining in the budget for urban renewal grants this fiscal year. Right now, Crescent Studios is the only grant application that we have received. I think the staff report mentioned another one that was in progress, but unfortunately they backed out of their project. We do continue to meet with businesses, but we do not have any other pending applications at this time. So the board did review and provide some feedback on June 4th on this application, on a previous version of the application. And the feedback that the board provided at that time was that the requested dollar amount was too high of a sort of overall percentage of the budget. The board felt that the applicant and the landlord should be contributing more money to the overall project cost for the tenant improvements. It was also noted that given the type of business, it just felt like the dollar amount was too high, given it wasn't restaurant or retail or something that would generate a more significant amount of foot traffic. So we shared this information, and the applicant, who is here with us this evening, Jessie, is in the audience here, and should you have any questions that you'd like her to answer, I'm sure she'd be happy to come up and speak with you. So she watched the video of the meeting, and we provided some additional feedback to her. She went back to the landlord, and she also worked on revising her scope and budget to lower some overall project costs and bring more money to the table from herself and the landlord. And just to kind of review the program, so the guidelines for the Urban Renewal Grant Program are fairly broad and flexible. The program does say that it offers tenant improvement construction grants, typically up to $65,000 per project, but that the Urban Renewal Agency may award a different dollar amount. It also states that there's a maximum grant of $100,000 per project. There, in the requirements, there's no specific minimum requirement contribution from the landlord or the applicant. It does not function as a matching grant, and it's not, there's no language suggesting that in the grant program guidelines. So I think that this is an opportunity, you know, having gone through this grant application, for staff and the board to make sure that moving forward, maybe we have proper guidance that reflects the board's policy direction. And if there is a desire to change something in the future, we could certainly look at that to make expectations of the board clear and give applicants better predictability when they're applying for a grant. I think that's a bit of the case that we ran into here. Just looking kind of, I think we share with applicants the past experience in terms of other successful projects, and there have been a few other successful projects recently, Kuatai, Willow's Pizza, and Stomping Grounds. Now, those were all in spaces that had a level of improvement. It ranged. Some of them were really improved and just needed some minor modifications, like Stomping Grounds. Kuatai was an improved space, but really needed a complete renovation to switch to another use. And for those applications, there wasn't a stated landlord contribution, at least in the grant application. So just some things to kind of reflect on, to understand where the applicant was coming forward in terms of precedent and information in the grant guidelines. All right, so, and then just again briefly about the business, Crescent Studios is currently located in a smaller space on the west side of Village Street. She's been in business for 6 years and 4 years here in Fairview Village. She is co-located with a couple of other services and is looking to expand to a larger space. And I'm going to turn it over to Nate now.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, so just to kind of quickly give a refresh to the board. This project entails the expansion of the business up the street to 1610 Market, which sits on the northwest corner of the intersection of Market and Village under the clock tower. The 1,530 square foot space is currently vacant and, as Sarah alluded to, requires plumbing, electrical, HVAC, and studio-specific improvements. These improvements include the creation of a bathroom, as well as space for a makeup artist sublease, which will be open to outside customers. In addition, the applicant has indicated that she will keep views open through the large windows into the space to help activate the streetscape and create visual interest. And as the space grows, the applicant plans to host local events to further foster community in the space and surrounding area. So on this slide, we've listed the updated project expenses. We don't need to go through all of them, but you'll note that the total project cost has been reduced from over $100,000 in the previous application to just under $80,000 on this one, with the majority of this coming from reductions to the bathroom costs, as well as the removal of architectural planning and management costs. This next slide here summarizes the updated tenant improvement and finishing expenses on the first two rows, as well as the proposed contributions from the grant, the applicant, and the property owner. And I want to note that these numbers may be slightly different than some found in the staff report on page 2. Apologies for that. They are correct in the corresponding spreadsheet on this page here. Regardless, this next slide outlines the key differences between the prior application and the updated one, and namely, the grant request has been reduced from just over $90,000 to $62,258, all of which is now tenant improvements, and which, according to the program guidelines, as Sarah outlined earlier, fit within the maximum allowable amount for tenant improvement construction costs of $65,000. In addition, the applicant contribution has increased from $10,000 to $15,000, which would cover 19% of total project costs under this new request. Furthermore, the property owner has agreed to cover the cost of the electrical sub-panel installation, which accounts for $2,628. And finally, the applicant has modified the business plan to incorporate the leasing of business space to latch technicians to address the foot traffic concerns the board had with the first application. With all that in mind, I would also like to remind the board that the application meets the minimum qualifications set forth in the program guidelines. Finishing the space to meet the specific needs of the tenant is an eligible activity. The applicant's business plan demonstrates benefits to the Fairview URA, namely that this is a successful Fairview business looking to expand, and that the applicant would fill a key commercial vacancy. And finally, that the applicant has financial capacity to complete the project, though grant funding is the crucial piece of this puzzle. Moving on, if the council does approve the application, the next step would be the creation and execution of both the grant agreement and promissory note. For there, the applicant can begin work on those items to be funded by the grant. And as work is completed, submit a request for reimbursement. And then finally, the board has a few alternative actions it can choose from this evening. The first would be to approve resolution 04-2025 for the requested $62,130, or for another amount if it so chooses. Alternatively, the board could adopt a revised resolution with specific project indications. And finally, there is the option to decline the application and identify where it was found to not meet the program guidelines. Now, unless Sarah has anything to add. Okay, that's great. That concludes our presentation, and we can now take your questions.
All right, Council Mark.
This is a salon, correct?
No, this is a photography studio.
Photography studio.
And inside the photography studio, there are a couple of individual businesses, so essentially subleasing some space for salon-like services.
Okay, what individual businesses are those?
So there's a eyelash technician and a makeup artist, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
So, where this question is leading is, what if, a lady came in and wanted to get pictures taken and stuff like that, and wanted to get her nails done? Do they have the capability for this to be kind of like a one-stop shop?
I think that's generally the idea. There's not you can't get your nails done under the current plan for the services that would be there, although I know there are nail salons like down the walk. So the village would be a one-stop shop. But yes, I think that's the idea, that the additional businesses co-locating in the photography studio would provide an opportunity to have those services done in conjunction with your photography.
So that would even make more money than the original amount requested, correct?
So the applicant owns the photography studio and the other businesses are separately owned, is my understanding.
Okay.
And they were added to try and just bring in a little bit more foot traffic. And they would also be open for walk-in customers, whereas the photography studio is more of an appointment-based type of service.
Gotcha. I think that's awesome, for ladies to be able to come in, get their nails done, hair done, whatever they need. I think it's a good idea.
Okay, Council Copeland.
Your button? I didn't hit my button.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Oh, sorry.
never mind.
No, that was me, sorry. I thought he hit his first.
Nope.
I'm just curious more than anything if the addition of the bathroom was run by the landlord and what his feedback was, since it looks like that's not included in here.
So there is a bathroom that's going to be in the space, just the scope of the bathroom remodel was modified in the updated application. So there will be a restroom for customers.
Currently has one, or?
No, there's none, currently
okay.
there's nothing, no, you're right. I mean, it is really.
Like something that's a landlord, it seems like that's something that they would have included, but I don't know, that's just me. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Council Denton.
So we kind of have caused our own problem here, or I should say our predecessors have caused this problem because, as you point out, we don't have any guidelines. Take the money and do whatever. Obviously, I thought I made it clear last time, I don't want us to be paying for things that I don't think she should be paying for either. You have an example in here that's great, right? Stomping grounds, local pass, good time. Dave, Carly, whatever we want to call him, did exactly what he's supposed to do as a building owner. None of those places paid for a bathroom. None of those places paid for air conditioning or air handling. I understand there's exhaust fans that have to be put into the tie place, but all of those things, tenant improvements that are paid for by the building owner, not by the taxpayers. That's what's got me riled up over this, is I want the owner of that building to use his money to make it habitable for her, not the taxpayers. But because we don't have any guidelines that said that, I'm kind of stuck here. And I think we don't have any other current grant applications, right?
That's correct.
And I would say that we need to pause, not that we have the money to do grant applications anyway, but I think that we would need to pause this program and put some things in place that say that tenant improvements are the responsibility, the backbone tenant improvements, bathrooms, air conditioning, power, walls, are the responsibility of the building owner. I don't want taxpayer dollars paying for things he's basically cheaping out on. But I think, you know, our hands are kind of tied here because there's nothing that says that. You know, you're playing by the rules, we send it back to you. I don't think you should have to put a bathroom in. I think Parker should put the bathroom in. But we don't have the rules that say that. So the other thing is, a couple of things. You know, we don't have guidelines, but just keep in mind that yes, we are creating a business and it's into a space. We're also creating a vacancy that potentially is going to have the same problem because the owners of those buildings, when Garth built those buildings, he didn't do squat out. It's up to the owners to put stuff in there. He didn't do anything. We have just gone through with the game store, you know, it should have been open 3 months ago. But we finally have gotten around to open it. And obviously Councilor Todd knows more about this than I do. But again, that's something that the developer and the building owner should have put in, not the people who are renting it. Because I guarantee you, you know, if you put the air conditioner in and you decide to move, make damn sure you take it out. Although my guess would be that your lease is probably going to say that you can't. And I think that's criminal. So anyway, that's my rant for this evening on renewal. So thank you for putting up.
Gives us an opportunity to fix something, Counselor, whoever.
Jeff, real quick, thank you, you said it way better than I did.
Yeah, I appreciate you going back to the table and coming back with another updated proposal and looking at how you can cut some of those costs and things. I agree that I do have concerns about anybody who gets into business with that property owner. So just, I would also caution that you make sure you read the fine print on everything. But also I don't think that that we are in a position to punish the applicant because of the lack of guidelines or the fact that she may be dealing with a very difficult property owner who will try to manipulate things to his benefit at all costs. So I feel a lot more comfortable with this. I think, you know, it meets the guidelines. I still wish that it brought a little bit more foot traffic, but I like what you said about hosting community events. And I think you have an opportunity to partner with like the nail salon across the street, which is a fantastic business. They've been there forever, so.
Quan's Flowers.
Yeah, the flower shop. Even the chiropractor, you know, like somebody.
That post didn't work.
That pose, ow, my back, you know, some of the chiropractor. So I hope that you take those opportunities to partner with some of the other businesses that have been here for a long time, because they're very valuable. And I think that would be a good plan, but I'm much more comfortable with this proposal.
Thank you. Let's go, Counselor Todd.
Well, first, before my comments, one question. So the space that you're going to be leaving, so what improvements are in there now?
What?
Improvements are in there now. Is there a restroom? I assume there's electricity. There's stuff that where you're going to vacate and move from.
But by improvements, you mean what improvements that I made,
Or the landlord did. What's in the space?
I mean, I found it in bare bones, but I had a bathroom. And after having to reach out and say, hey, if there's no AC, you can't be here, she installed it. So it's the restroom and the AC.
Okay. So that'll be easier place to rent when she vacates it because it has stuff now.
Yes.
So that just popped ahead when we were talking about creating a problem. It's less of a problem.
Yeah.
Because there's stuff now. I have to reiterate. I'm glad we got, a whole $2,600 and, $2,628 for something. I wish it was more, but this is what we asked for when we sent it back. And this fits the guidelines that we have set for now. And I do agree with my colleagues that we need to go back to the guidelines and put in some more stuff on tenant improvements and what our expectations and desires are, because we have bare bones places and places where the builders have taken advantage of programs that we have in place, and now we have a see-through real estate problem. So I would really like to come back to that and rewrite stuff. That being said, this is exactly what we asked for, and it's helping a current business in Fairview expand and stay here. And so that all makes sense to me as far as what we've got here and what we could get with the guidelines we have.
Thank you very much. Councilor Owens.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's already been said, but I would hope, as Councilor Dennerlein mentioned, that just officially, unofficially, we just kind of put a pause on anything going forward until we go back and address, I call it loopholes, or maybe establishing some criteria so that we don't have to have this kind of discussion again. But I think what I heard you tonight say, Sarah, is that we have nothing in the pipeline. There's no other active applicants right now.
That's true. We do have two businesses that have reached out for informational meetings with us. And so we'll see, sometimes those happen and it doesn't materialize in terms of establishing a lease. So I think we have a little bit of time. But I guess what we could do, and what I've been sharing with people, is that the council is most likely going to revise the program parameters, and the expectation would be that the landlord and business would be required to put in a larger share, such as it would be a matching grant, for example, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be worthwhile if you know of some businesses that have made an inquiry, that maybe give them a heads up that the tolerance for some of this is pretty low at this point, so there's no sense in them going through the whole process. And I would assume that they would get rejected. I mean, if we had the same issue coming before us next week or next month, I just can't imagine that it's going to go anywhere. And I agree. I think we've already been through this one time. I just, the property owner contributing $2,628 for the whole value of that building to, to come to the table. I mean, to me, that's just kind of the equivalent of doing absolutely nothing. It's embarrassing. I would hope that the applicant has had a very credible person review lease terms and things of that sort, because this just doesn't feel right to me. By any stretch, I'm not a commercial lease expert, but it just seems very, very low. So I think for those reasons tonight, I mean, I'm going to support this, but don't really have much of a tolerance for further discussions until we fix it.
Thank you very much. City Manager George.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to let you know, and the board know, if you are wanting to suspend, we did talk about the lack of money your pullback of budget meeting. So if you did want to suspend it or apply to other guidelines, then we do that by a motion. But I would ask, before you did that, we got some input from Sarah and how she's feeling about the applicants talking to her. I want to make sure someone's probably in the works. I would hate to just cut them off, but I did want to make that recommendation.
It's a good suggestion, and I think we need to have that conversation. If we have it tonight, we need to settle this issue first. I'd like to at least put a bow on this thing. And then, yeah, if we have the appetite for it tonight, or if we have to do another night, I'm good either way. I think it's a conversation that needs to happen.
I appreciate it. I just didn't want expectations from council to know it's going to positive, but there's no official actions.
No.
No, I really appreciate it.
Let's keep that in mind. Before I get to you, Councilor Marker, first off, to the applicant, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I hope that you understood where we were coming from. We're not trying to say, no, we actually want this to happen. It was just a little bit of a bitter pill to swallow. I believe it was in the 90 percentile range that we were going to be paying for. And that was a little bit tough. Really appreciate the work that has been done. Thank you. You heard our intent, and I'm not gonna speak for anybody else, but I'm really happy with this. And I wanna see you there. I wanna see somebody in that space. It's been a glorious space, and it's been a shame it's been empty. And everything that we're saying has nothing, no indication on you. We're airing our frustrations. That's all it is. This has no impact on you or your business. I would love to see this thrive. I will be funneling anybody I talk to towards it, and mainly because of the location and the access to subsequent, businesses that could tie in. I think it's great. I think it could be really handy for customers. So, but I just wanted to say that. Thank you very much. I truly appreciate it. Councilor Marker.
One last thing, we've had problems in the past with not only renters, but landlords not having places fixed up for their inhabitants to be able to live under a roof that doesn't leak, have a bathroom that works. And I think that all kind of falls under Multnomah County, if my memory serves me correctly, because we had a situation like that. I really think that the person that is going to end up owning this building or whatever, that they need to be the ones to turn around and put in facilities so people can go ahead and use them. It's not, to me, it's unconscionable to turn around and make somebody go without using the bathroom, for goodness sake.
That's it. Thank you very much. City Manager George, did you have something else, or did you just? Gotcha, no problem.
I think I turned it the wrong way.
No, usually, some people hit it, I usually turn it off at this end, so I know when I've called on somebody, and half the time people just go slap, and I double check. No worries. If there are no other discussions, questions, we will entertain a motion.
Move to approve resolution 4-2025.
Second.
Sorry, I just need to interrupt for one moment. Nate, can you remind the board of the dollar amount that they would like to specify for the grant? Because the resolution does not state that, so I'm just gonna have Nate read that dollar amount to include in the motion.
Okay.
It's $62,130.
I move to approve resolution 4-2025 for the amount $62,130.
Second.
Go 129, just to be funny. No, let's not. Sorry, bad joke. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second from Council President, or actually Member Ohm. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Thank you very much, congratulations. Take lots of pictures.
Yes.
Have fun, make it a gorgeous space. I can't wait to walk by there on a summer day. It's gonna be awesome. Do we want to make a motion on this program right now, make it quick and dirty?
Yes.
I think so. My concern is that the owner is going to get wind of this, and then now he's going to be even more resistant to put in any money towards any other improvements.
I think you needed to add an S there, owners.
Oh,
We're talking
yes.
about more than
Right,
one.
you're right, yes.
Who are gonna go, oh, wait a minute, they're gonna shut this down, we need to
Right.
slide something in. That doesn't preclude us from saying no. Even if you meet the guidelines, it doesn't preclude us from saying, sorry, we're not doing this
Right.
anymore. But we can kind of
But that
cut them
hurts
off
the
at the
applicants
pass.
more than the owners,
Yeah,
so
right,
I
exactly.
think we really need to look at that.
Councilor Todd, did you have something?
I was just going to say, yes, I think we should suspend the program and schedule rewriting, work session to rewrite these guidelines after input from Sarah, and get that the way we want it, and then reopen the program.
Might I also suggest, I think that's a great idea, we could also have Sarah bring back some options, and then we can have a discussion too. But
That would be great.
I think suspending it tonight, just to say generally, we're gonna suspend it as we take a look at our program guidelines, even Sarah, be fine. Sarah can bring back something we can have for discussion.
Well, Member Todd, do you have some verbiage that?
Yes.
Into that?
I would like to move to suspend the Urban Renewal Development Grant Program with the understanding we're scheduling a work session where our city planner is going to bring us guidelines and options and so forth. And, a reasonably short amount of time, we do that and then reopen the program with the changes to fit our policy goals.
Second.
I wish the city recorder good luck on
Yes,
recording that.
somebody's gonna.
I'm very thankful there's a tape for her to go back.
That was a long motion.
That was a heck of a motion, and I can't wait to see.
There was a
it.
semicolon in there.
I cannot wait to see it on the minutes. All right, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. One last motion for this particular meeting.
Move to adjourn?
There it is. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we are adjourned for this meeting. We will re-adjourn at 7 PM for the regular session.
So,
Okay.
Counselor Todd, just gonna let you know, which I was trying to sneak this in at the end, but I
wait until city recorder tells us we're ready.
We are ready.
All right. Hey, put your travels here. It just magically appeared. I like it. We'll call to order the city council session for Wednesday, August 6th, 2025. If we could please have a roll call.
Counselor Todd,
Present.
Counselor Owen,
Here.
Counselor Copeland,
Here.
Counselor Dennerlein,
Present.
Counselor Marker,
Here.
Counselor Weber,
Here.
Mayor Kuderna.
Here. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Our poor bird. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, do we have any citizens wishing to comment on agenda items that are not public hearings?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. Next on the order is review and adopt minutes from July 2nd, 2025. Do we have any comments or corrections on there?
I just had a question. I made a motion to not approve the path. I think I get it. It was confusing. I made a motion to not approve something that we then approved the motion to not approve it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. That was supremely awkward.
At which point I motion to approve minutes from the previous meeting.
One second.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes. All right, council business 4A, approve the 2021 fiscal corrective action plan. Financial director, Will.
Good evening again. This is for the 2020-21 audit. As you remember, we did have audit deficiencies, and you were presented with those along with the audit at our last meeting. According to the Oregon revised statutes, municipalities that have audit deficiencies need to adopt and file a plan of action with the Secretary of State. Before you is that action plan. So I am asking that you vote to or not to approve that plan.
Okay. And just to clarify, this is the same action that we had under the urban renewal meeting.
It is the same, it's not the exact same action plan because the deficiencies between the two were different, but it is the same idea, yes.
Same concept, got it. Okay. Do we have any questions from council on this item?
No questions, I just want to comment briefly. Thank you again, Ann. I know you came here into quite a situation and in a short time have really worked hard to address this issue and get us up to speed, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? With that, we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the 2021 fiscal year corrective action plan.
Second. I have a second from Councilor Copeland. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes.
Yeah.
C, 4B, authorized termination of Zipley cable franchise agreement. Nate Midgley.
All right, good evening to Mayor Kuderna, members of the city council. My name is Nate Midgley, I'm a project manager here at the city of Fairview. This evening, I will be presenting on Resolution 25, 2025, which would authorize the formal termination of Zipley's cable franchise agreement with the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission, or MHCRC. First, for a little bit of background, by now, folks are likely familiar with Zipley, but if you're not, they're a telecommunication provider who've been operating in Fairview since 2019, when they purchased Frontier's network and by extension inherited Frontier's cable franchise agreement with MHCRC. In May 2023, Zipley and the MHCRC entered negotiations to renew this agreement. However, in November of 2024, Zipley informed the commission that it no longer wished to renew due to dwindling cable subscribers across Multnomah County. As a result, Ziply and MHCRC negotiated a termination agreement that is explained in full in the letter from MHCRC Chair Julia DeGrom, which is included in your council packet. The main points of interest for this meeting are as part of this agreement, Ziply will provide cable service to its remaining customers in Fairview, if any, until the end of 2025, when its franchise agreement will expire. It will move out of the cable sector. In addition, as part of this termination process, commission staff recommend that each member jurisdiction, including Fairview, enter into a formal termination agreement with Ziply, and this is the purpose of this presentation this evening. Quickly, just some budget implications. So obviously the city will lose any remaining revenue related to Ziply cable service. Of course, some of this could be recouped if Ziply customers switch their service to Comcast. In addition, a cable franchise termination means that the city can now set fees related to Ziply's use of the city's right-of-way for its other telecom operations, such as broadband, which was previously preempted. And I don't have a full financial forecast available, but this does have the potential to be actually a net positive for the city's utility-related revenues. So with all of that said, the council has a few options this evening. The first, and the one that is recommended by city staff, is to approve Resolution 25/2025 and enter into a formal termination agreement with Ziply. Alternatively, if more information is required by the council prior to making a decision on the agreement, council could request this from either Ziply or the MHCRC. And with that, I can now take your questions.
Do we have any questions? Council President Arnold?
How many customers does Ziply Cable have in the city of Fairview today?
I don't have the exact figures for today. The last I heard, and this was in November of 2024, around the time Ziply approached MSCRC about terminating their agreement, I think it was between 100 to 200. So it's a fairly low number.
Okay, and so is I guess the alternative is Xfinity, Comcast?
Yeah, Comcast is the other cable provider, that's right.
Okay, and on the Ziply side of it, so they're ceasing all business. When we call it cable, it's internet connectivity and everything.
It's just
the TV.
Yeah, they're continuing to use the broadband services.
I'm trying to find a number, I have it somewhere. But it is, so perspective is, they had 0 subscribers in Wood Village, and Wood Village has already done this.
Yeah.
We were flirting with triple digits, trending towards double digits pretty quick.
Yeah.
So.
But this is just for entertainment, television, entertainment.
Just TV.
Okay, and so we'll continue to collect a franchise. Now, do we collect a franchise fee on the internet connectivity?
Can't do it according to federal law.
Exactly, so now we will be able to, once this cable franchise agreement ends. Well, yeah, it's just.
Okay. Got it, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Council Marker?
So this is just for TV, correct?
Cable service,
Has nothing to do with internet?
that's right, yeah, they're gonna continue to provide internet, including here at City Hall.
So how many people did you say that we had for TV here in town?
It was between, like, this was about, I don't know, 9 months ago, it was between 100 and 200, it was pretty low households, all things considered, and trending downwards, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
City Manager George?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to clarify that Council Marquez fiber will be what we use here in the city hall. Just want to also point out that I know we need to talk about this. The Ziply negotiating agreement with the MHCRC, but they are terminating the end of this year anyway, so we really don't, there's not a lot of options.
Terminating what?
Their cable.
Yeah.
Just for TV, not the internet, right?
Yes.
Just cable TV.
Okay.
Correct. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much. Just let's see, if there's no other questions, we'll entertain a motion on this resolution.
Motion to approve resolution 25-2025.
Second.
I got Counselor Todd over here beating you to it by that much.
That's all right.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Next item, 4C, establish immunity from certain personal injury and property damage claims. City Manager George.
Thank you, Mayor. This, just a brief overview, this is an option that allows the city to have more protections from state statute. It's not allowed unless you're over 500,000 population, unless you opt into it.
Just double checking, is your microphone on?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. Is this better?
That's
better, much better.
Thank you.
I can speak pretty loud. So the recreational immunity is basically an option from state statute. I'm going to read you a section here, but in overview, it allows the city to have more protections if someone were to try to sue the city for recreational or abutting property owners that allow recreational opportunities for using their property. So let me just read a spot here that I put together. I had done this, let me back up. This really came about the city of Newport. If you remember a few years ago, a lady slipped and fell on a bridge and then they got sued. And when I was in Tillamook County, a lot of cities just said no to using their property at all. I didn't do that until I didn't feel that was right. But nevertheless, we did go back and we adopted it's there. And I brought this before the council, the same thing. The issue's not as big now, but in reviewing with Emily, our attorney, she agreed that it's really important. It doesn't cost us anything. So let me just read a section here that she wrote. I had a lot of information, both I presented in Tillamook and also represented here. But ORS 105.668 limits the liability of cities for personal injury or property damage that arises out of the public's non-motorized use of trails and structures and public easements and unimproved rights of way. ORS 105.668 automatically applies to cities with a population of 500,000 or more. Cities with smaller populations must affirmatively adopt the ORS protections either via resolution or ordinance. ORS 105.668 also applies to cities' officers, employees, agents, owners of land abutting the public easement or unimproved right-of-way, and nonprofits and their volunteers who construct and maintain trails and structures in public easements and unimproved right-of-ways. This documents ORS could encourage landowners to grant easements for the public's use, reducing the risk liability. It could also encourage nonprofits to assist the city with trail maintenance and construction by reducing their risk of liability. So what it basically does, it gives us higher protections if the city were to adopt this from that ORS, which by law only applies to 500,000 unless we opt into it. So that's all it is. It just gives us additional protections if someone were to try to sue the city because they got hurt using one of our facilities or one of our abutting property owners that allow them to use their city or their property, their property or land to be used for recreational purposes. For example, if someone was allowing access to their backyard or a little trail or something, that's all it is in a nutshell.
Great. Does anybody have any questions? No. If there's no questions or discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve resolution 24-2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Or D, authorize city manager to execute a collective bargaining agreement with Teamsters Union. You can have fun.
So what I wanted to, I know you have my report, and then what I want to do is kind of start out and explain a little bit here. So one of the things that I like to do is negotiate contracts. So I worked really hard with the union, and I want you to know the union had a bad past experience. I'll just put it that way. It was, but we worked really hard together. I appointed a team, I had our HR director, and I had our finance director in those meetings, and I also involved our department heads along the way. We met frequently to talk, to discuss. I also involved our city attorney and meeting, talking with her and going over things. So we worked for quite a while with the union representatives. And what I'm proposing here, there's several changes there are some changes that are financial impact and some changes that are not. And so if you'd like to, I mean, definitely want to go with the financial ones, and if you'd like, I can go through the report, not the report, go through the contracting and update all those. I want you to know the reason I have the original, the current well, it's not current anymore, but the one that was up through the end of June, and I put the new one, there was so many red line versions between that. If I had tried to do that, you would have been enormously confused, because we went back and forth on and on. But we had a really healthy relationship, worked really well. I want you to know that the number one goal for me, for our employees, is that they have a respectful and professional environment. That's the number one, hands down, on what people like professionally. In fact, in this very room, we have our quarterly meeting on Monday. We have an all-staff meeting every 2 months. And one of the things I talked about was not triangulating. I talked about respectful and professional, and they have all employees have signed a letter of expectations, and they know that. So it's working together as a team. The second thing that's important to me is that our employees are compensated fairly within within the proper market, I should say. So that's really important to me too. So I've engaged in a comprehensive compensation study, not just a salary survey, a comprehensive compensation study to get them to where they need to be within the market. It doesn't mean that we necessarily be top of the market, but to be within the range of a competitive salary. So with that said, we're working on that. I've hired Lane Council of Governments, and they are working on that. They did the same thing in Tillamook, and I was able to get all the employees where they need to be. And just for your information, it was the lower employees who paid the least that had the biggest changes. Some of the top, in fact, I had 2 people that weren't even department heads that didn't get any change at all because they were already within the range. So I wanted to point that out. But I want you to know that the union came in with some pretty high requests for compensation, but when I outlined the plan I was trying to do to get them to a fair level where they could be compensated within a fair range, then they were really happy, and they actually back off. We renegotiated down to a much lower. So one of the requests they had was for a 4% increase of cost of living. And what we wanted our team, and I include our department heads, was to be a fair and comparable level of compensation for our cost of living adjustment, which goes out to the CPI index W, correct? Yeah. Which is basically for wage and urban workers. So that, as you know, we had approved, council approved, budget committee and council approved 2.7, and we got it to the point where we negotiated 2.9. So that's a very small increase for this year. And after this, it just stays right within the CPIW. The only difference is a minimum is 2.5, a maximum 5%. So if we have, like we did 5 years ago, it's like 8%. We had some serious issue up against the council, 5%. So the other, and I just want to ask council, you want me to go through everyone? You want me to keep kind of talking generally? We can go through the whole contract.
I think generally is good.
Okay. Then let me pull out, so a couple other things too. One of the things the union asked for was to have some type of incentive for a 457. They requested 3% contribution of their salary, and we agreed on 1%. And the reason being is we don't have a lot of money. We'd love to do what we could. But I think the 1% encourages our employees' longevity. And it's a match, excuse me. Thank you. It's a match 1%, it's not just a guaranteed 1%. We also estimate there probably won't be a lot of people. We'd hope there'd be a lot of people, but unfortunately, there probably won't. Some of the other, and you may be thinking this is all for the union, but it's also very helpful to us. One of the other areas I addressed was the holidays. So the holidays, they requested 2 floating holidays. However, my plan from the beginning, before I negotiated, was to have Juneteenth day off. As I said before, I think Juneteenth day is a very significant day in our history to recognize. So that was already incorporated, so they didn't have a question on holidays. Also, my glasses on here. Yeah, that's what happens when you get past 50. So there were several things here. For example, I'll just touch on some of the things that don't really affect the pay, but exceptions. I mean, all the wording was redone to have a city manager in here. There were situations where they felt like, and we felt like, well, exceptions would be the city manager and not just through a department head, but at the recommendation of department So that's a big difference. Let's see here, we had, a lot of language is cleaned up from the past. When it came to holidays, when I talked about holidays, excuse me, talked about vacation bank payoff. So one of the things that the union had requested was to be able to pay out, right now we allow up to 40 hours payout once you use for vacation. They requested twice a year payout. That is a substantial financial hit for us. So what we negotiated was actually a payout twice a year for anybody who had over 15 years of service. So that substantially cuts down the financial impact on us, plus it gives an incentive for people to be here for a long time and stay. So also, I wanted to let you know that in here, we did talk about, you know, one of the things I'm looking at, which will be way down in the future, is looking at a 4-day work week, a Monday through Thursday. I shifted Tillamook over to a 4-day work week, and I'm not saying that anytime soon. But that was a significant boost. We were able to be open early in the morning for contractors, later at night for people after work. It is an incentive for people to have a 3-day weekend. They can get their, it keeps them from leaving as much sick leave and doctors and so forth. So they did put an option here if that were the case, where they would look at that and vote on that. I also want to point out that it's a 3-year contract. I had proposed a 5-year contract, just so we don't have to keep going back. And I want you to know that they said that if you kept me for 5 years, they would go for a 5-year. Now, I say that kind of silly, but the fact is that at some point along the line, right now, a 3-year contract, if we get to a longer contract or something, they are willing to allow us to go back and do the amendment and just make it a 5-year extension, or not 5 years, a 2-year extension, so it'd be a 5-year contract. They trust us, and we work really well together, so I just want to let you know that. Also, a couple other things to cover. Some of the bereavement was changed slightly. In the past, they had 3 days of leave. They talked about, a little bit about distance. The wording wasn't very clear, so I proposed a 3 days if they're local, and then I think if it's over 350 miles traveling by automobile, you're gonna physically attend, then you could have up to 6 days funeral leave. And also we put a spot in there about the state law, which state law allows people to have up to 2 weeks if they so request. Doesn't mean they have to pay for it, but they're allowed to have 2 weeks. So lots of great things. Also, we cleaned up some language regarding the on-call. It was very confusing. In the past, employees were paid $22 per shift, assuming we have a 3-shift work week. We have a work day, a day shift, night shift, and swing shift. And I'm sure these folks know a lot about shifts like that, but we don't have those shifts. We only have a day shift. We have emergencies and people come out. So what we did is I proposed that they had actually proposed to have the paid plus comp time, but we didn't feel like it was, how can you really give comp time based on, how can you have comp time on non-work time? So what I proposed was a slight increase, and they claimed the language, so now you're just paid, $50 a day on a work day, and $75 on non-work day, which would be a weekend to be on call. So it's $6 more, but it's also cleaned up so it's not confusing, which also helps on their time cards, it helps their staff internally. So along with the changes, so let me go back into the comprehensive compensation study. So one of the first things I identified when we came is that, as you recall, I spent a lot of time going around doing ride-alongs and spending at least an hour with every single employee, trying to understand what they do and understand their coming from, and to listen to them. One of the things they did talk about was Juneteenth Day. Another thing that they talked about, and something I even said before they even talked about, was the titles. The job titles, most job titles do not reflect their actual job work. This is especially the case in the Public Works Department. All the employees, with the exception of our Public Works Director and some of our office staff, had the title of maintenance worker. And maintenance worker does not accurately reflect what they're doing. They're actually technicians, and they're working on stormwater, and they're working on water, and they're working on streets, and they're installing equipment, and so forth. So I went through by working with our department heads and with the input of our employees. employees, and especially through the union process, revise and update all of our job titles. So we're working off new job titles, for example, well, some of them are the same, code and compliance officers stay the same, but we had what used to be called office assistant, and now we have administrative assistant, which this time is only affects 2 people. And we also have different levels. We had information technology coordinator. That position really is managing our IT system. So we changed that to manager. Just a caveat, manager does not necessarily supervise people. Manager is that you're managing a project, for example. I think Nate's left. Nate is a project manager because he manages projects. Also in our, we had the same thing in our finance department. We had office assistants. Offices, they're all free level. So office assistants, really, they're doing accounting, they're doing finance, they're doing utility billing, and they're doing payroll, and it didn't make sense. So what we renamed them was accounting clerks. We'll have different levels of accounting clerks. So I think that's the major stuff. But to focus again back on the compensation, I want to talk a little bit more about the comprehensive compensation study. So if you look at the past agreement, it came through and they said, hey, we want this salary on this level and this level. We don't have any of that. All we have, other than the 0.02% increase and some very small minor things I just discussed, they are very confident that with the comprehensive compensation study, which I hired Lane Council of Governments, and they, by the way, they're the ones that used to be contracted with legal cities. On the premier, not the premier government organization with us, the study in the state. Then they will come back, and then in January, we will adjust their salaries to be at a competitive level, depending on those results. And they did request it. We want it effective January 1st. Union came back, so we want it effective November 1st. We said, well, you know, would have been nice if it was 10 years ago effective, but we can't do that. So we proposed, and I say we, because the department heads and our HR director, Jerry, talked about a 3% increase depending on those levels. So if they, for example, you're gonna get like a $5,000 raise, and that represents a 20% raise, and they would get 3% of that, which is, I can do my math right, what, $6,000 or something. So that was a less of a financial impact, and did our best to run numbers of what we could, because we don't know exactly. But like I said, I can tell you until when we ran this, we ended up, and I realize I don't compare, but not exactly comparable, but at least from the experience I had. Our public works technicians started at $17 an hour, and they went up to $22 an hour starting wage. And then as we got higher up, I mean, some of the department heads adjusted by 50 cents an hour or something. It wasn't significant. It just depended on the work. But to me, this puts us in a really financially good place. Yes, it's going to cost a little bit of money come January, but the situation is we put them at a competitive level. We have a nice salary, and then every year we adjust by CPIW, and then every 4 years we'll go out and redo the study, and from now on, our wages will actually be predictable, because we won't have to go back, and I plan to be here a long time, so don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. But I plan to be a long time, so we could even potentially get the 5-year contract, and even maybe future 5-year contracts. That allows us to show that we're serious, I'm really serious about being at a competitive level, but also recognizing that just because we're competitive doesn't mean we can just, I'd love to offer more, but this is not a private business, and we don't have sales revenues, right? It's different. So anyway, I'm really proud of our team. I'm really proud of the union. I think they worked really hard and really listened. It was very difficult for them in the beginning because they had some bad experiences. But I think I know we worked really well together. So that is the basic spiel. I'm happy to ask questions or go into more detail.
Okay, thank you very much, Councilor Weber.
Regarding the compensation study, I know the last time that it was done, I wouldn't call it comparable because they were comparing metro with non-urban and standard regions. So will this one be focusing on comparable cities that are in the metro area versus the standard or non-urban?
It will. Great question. Thank you for asking. So it's actually several metrics. One is a metric of population, and there's also a metric of location. There's a metric of comparable jobs in the workforce. So for example, in Tillamook, you can choose up to 10 cities. So what's Lane Council of Governments did, their contractor proposed 8 cities. we found two more that met. So for example, we used Warrenton was one of their comparables. I think Lincoln City, they're mostly coastal. We couldn't use all coastal because Silver's about 5,400, 5,300. So they had to be within a range. I think it was like 3,000 to like 1.5 times of like 7,500. So I think Lincoln City was in there, but it was a comparable. And you can't, it's not gonna be exact apples to apples, but it's as close as you can get within Oregon City. So yes, they found the most comparable ones, based on the population, based on the services offered. So the absolute closest that you could possibly do. It's not suddenly sitting in the room just choosing, choose the city down in, southeastern Oregon or something.
That's kind of what happened last time, and we all know the cost of living is very different in
Yes.
non-metro areas.
Yes.
It didn't make sense to me back then, so I appreciate you committing to that and going in to come up with a fair contract.
Thank you. It's very important to me and to our team.
Any other questions? No? I know I've been talking with you repeatedly throughout this process, and I appreciate the work that you've done. I want to make sure that people are heard and respected, and I really appreciate the work that you've done on this. With that being said,
I would be happy to make one, but I'm just having trouble finding that.
although on our agenda, it just says resolution 2025.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm sorry, I don't get many chances to tease you on that one.
Oh, I make a motion to approve resolution 26-2025.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes.
Thank you, Councilman.
All right. Next is 4E, amend Fairview Municipal Code, Chapter 13.05.100. If I could have the city recorder read the ordinance by title, even though I just did.
Yes, ordinance 6/2025, an ordinance of the Fairview City Council amending Fairview Municipal Code Chapter
13.050.100.
Okay, and do we have a report on this?
Yes, and it's gonna come from me, believe it or not.
I know, I see your name right there in parentheses.
So, first off, so this is regarding utility billing. And utility billing follows a very prescriptive process as outlined in our municipal code. Beginning with the meter read all the way to potential shut off, for bills not being paid. And as you know, we've all been working on trying to make our systems and our processes more efficient. One thing we discovered in this process is that we have staff staying after hours on one of the days because the deadline is at 5 p.m. So they're staying after hours to process the notifications to get them out to our residents. That got a little bit further exasperated by the fact that we're doing another efficiency. We now send our utility billing for printing and mailing. So we're no longer doing that all in-house like we used to. And then there's another section that has a very specific time of 10 a.m. And that's causing a bottleneck. Now that is turn off day, which is not a fun thing to be doing. But staff in the morning is trying to create door hangers and notice information for the Public Works Department to hang on the doors. So residents, when they come home, know what they're doing, how to get a hold of us, the process to get their water turned back on. And then we're also trying to coordinate with our Public Works team to get them out in the field to do what they need to do and give our residents as much time as possible to come back in and do what they need to do to get their water back on, hopefully that same day. So the requested proposal makes no change to notification requirements, no change to the number of days in the process. The only thing it's doing is it's removing a 5 p.m. time and replacing it within that day. And it's removing a 10 a.m. time and replacing it within that day. And that will give our utility billing staff the opportunity to do these tasks during normal business hours, meet all of our requirements. And do you have any questions?
Great transition. Does anybody have any questions? Seems pretty simple to me. I like the removal of the specific times. I'm sure that created a little bit of some stress headaches. So
Yeah.
that opens it up. I'm appreciative of that.
And legal looked at that. The only thing I'm thinking is within 10 days, but what's the definition of days?
On day previously to this? Or can somebody say, hey, I'm here, it's 11:59 PM, we're still within the same day?
Yeah, well, there will be an internal process that the finance department will set up. So that number is not going to change, or that time, I should say, is not going to change every month, and it's not going to be a moving target.
Right.
So internally, whatever number the finance staff comes up with, that will be the time, for lack of a word, and we can still communicate that with our residents.
Right.
It's not like we're going to hide that time, but it's going to give the staff an opportunity to set up that process and make it as efficient as possible.
Thank you.
Hopefully this doesn't actually get, how often do we turn stuff off?
Your last report?
Unfortunately, more than I would like, or that our finance director would like, but we are starting to do robocall reminders, which I think hopefully that might help moving forward. Oh, absolutely.
So we've done, since I've been here, we average per month around 12 to 15 shutoffs. We've instituted those automated calls to go out to the customers that they're in jeopardy of being shut off if they don't pay. And our staff, this last month, we had 3 shutoffs.
That's,
So we are working really hard to notify the customers and ask them to get their bills paid so that they don't get shut off.
okay. Council Marker?
Do we anticipate further shut-offs with the increase in the fees that we placed on, or is being placed on the water bill?
No. I don't think so, and I know, Councilor Marker, you had a lot of concerns about providing resources to our residents. Our utility billing clerks do have that handout at the counter, ready to give, to share resources with people if they are struggling. And we always, and I'm sure Ann can give you more information, but if somebody calls in and they're not able to pay their water bill in full, there are agreements, and the staff works with them too.
Okay,
We don't want to turn anybody's water off, and they'll do a lot to help them.
thank you, I appreciate it.
City Manager George?
Just as a related side topic, or no, I just wanted to say that we're gonna talk about this more in the next meeting, but we have hired a permit technician now. So that is very helpful, so that way will be more involved in the job and other just it's really helpful. So I realize it's not 100% related to this, but I just wanted to let the council know.
Okay. Keeping in mind this is a first reading, there's not really too much to go on else on tonight, but I want to make sure that everybody has their opportunity for questions. No? And then the next question to council is if we're willing to have this move forward to the second reading, which right now is scheduled for August 20th.
I move to move 6-2025 to the second reading at the time the mayor just specified.
Yeah, I think we just announce it. It doesn't need to be a motion.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, we should do that.
I think that's a thumbs up.
That's what we've done in the past, yeah.
Yeah, we just need to read it. So, okay, that's it. Now, we've got a bunch of people here, and I'm sure I'm sure you're really enthused about utility rates and water bills and everything else. I know, we are well aware of why you're here, and we are actually really anticipating hearing from you, but there is a couple of housekeeping items that I need to say up front. We absolutely encourage you to come down and speak to council. The one thing we do ask, or one of the things that we ask is if you could try to keep it to 3 minutes, just to try to keep things moving along. The other thing I'm going to ask is that we avoid redundant testimony. If you can, at all cost, please don't repeat what somebody else has said. I will say right now, we've had it in the past where people have come up and said the same things, and about the second or third time, we have to cut and shut it down. So I'm trying to avoid that. But with that said, I do know that a few of you have already signed up to speak. We'll go ahead and call you down at this time. And with that, Jeff Teeter, if you wouldn't mind coming down. And just for the record, if you could state your name and city of address. Either one, they're both hot. So thank you very much.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Jeff Teeter, and I'm here on behalf of the Gresham Professional Firefighters. First, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight, and more importantly, for the working relationship we've all shared for the last 40 years. For more than 4 decades, Gresham firefighters have proudly served the residents of Fairview. We've responded to emergencies, provided life-saving care, fought fires, and supported your community with the same dedication you bring to our home. When someone calls 911, we do not ask what city they're in. We simply just show up. But the reality is, the system is under stress. Emergency calls are rising, resources are stretched thin, and we are reaching a critical tipping point. The level of service we've been able to provide and that Fairview citizens deserve is in jeopardy without change. What we hope to do is bring Fairview into alignment with us, because while Gresham firefighters have continued to show up for your city, the growing demands on our shared fire and emergency services are no longer sustainable without a stronger regional commitment. The need for more fire stations, more staffing, and long-term investment is real and very urgent. These challenges can't be solved by one city alone. They require bold collaborative action from all 4 cities in our service area. We're asking Fairview to be a full partner in that conversation, in that planning, and in that investment for the safety of everyone who calls this region home. We're ready to work with you. We're committed to finding solutions together. Whether it's exploring new funding models, advocating for state or federal support, or making long-term strategic plans, we believe that collaboration is the only path forward. So thank you again for your time and for considering this call to action tonight. Let's ensure the next 40 years of service are even stronger than the last 40. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Ryan Dorn.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and the Fairview community. My name is Ryan Dorn. I'm Vice President of Local 1062, representing 126 Gresham professional firefighters. We stand here tonight to voice strong opposition to Clackamas Fire District 1's proposal to provide fire and emergency services to Fairview, Wood Village, and Troutdale. The communities we, the local firefighters, know and serve every day. For decades, we have served your community through a long-standing, successful partnership. Our firefighters have built strong relationships. Our firefighters know these streets, these homes, and these people. We were not invited to this fight that is happening today, but we showed up anyway. We are here to protect the community we proudly serve. We share similar interests for what East County Fire Service should represent. For over 20 years, your local firefighters fought to restore Multnomah County Fire District 10. We want sustainability, and we will continue to fight for it. Your issues with the city of Gresham is not about fire service. It is a financial and political disagreement that has put its citizens in the crosshairs of community safety. However, Clackamas Fire District 1 is not the answer. They will not build you a second fire station. They will not give you a seat at the table. Clackamas Fire District's proposal is taking advantage of you and taking advantage of your citizens' hard-earned tax dollars to help manage an unsustainable budget. I pay taxes in Clackamas County. I spoke at their fire district board meeting. The voters of Clackamas County approved an operating levy this past fall, and the Clackamas firefighters, Local 1159, are now being threatened with reduced staffing levels, modified responses, and contract arbitration. Chief Brown is recklessly ignoring national safety standards that impact staffing levels and community safety. He will do the same here. We recognize the city leaders of Gresham are not innocent. We must come together as 4 cities, including Monoma County Fire District 10, with your firefighters, to collaborate a solution for sustainable fire service. We, Local 1062, are not going away. We are here to hold the line, to protect our station, our jobs, and most importantly, your lives and your homes. We have served you with pride and professionalism for decades, and we will not stand silent. While political games jeopardize your safety, we urge you, Mayor, council members, and the Fairview community to look past false promises and recognize the true value of the service we provide. Stand with your Gresham professional firefighters, stand with Local 1062, and we will stand with you. We are here to stay, and we will continue to fight for the safety, sustainability, and well-being of this community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next we have Travis Souls.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and any members of the Fairview community that might be in attendance or viewing online. My name is Travis Souls. I am a captain of the Troutdale Fire Station, which has been served by Gresham Fire for over 4 decades. I, like my brothers and sisters and their families, are here tonight because I care about Fairview, Wood Village, and Troutdale. And I hope to give you information to prevent a terrible mistake. You're currently looking at a proposal from Clackamas Fire District 1 to provide fire and emergency services to the 3 cities, beginning July 1 of 2026. This decision will negatively impact businesses in your cities, your citizens, and it will put Gresham firefighters and Clackamas firefighters at risk. That is why it is opposed by the firefighters of Gresham, Portland, the state, and even Clackamas' own firefighters. The proposal would provide 1 engine in year 1 staffed with 3 firefighters. In year 2, they would ask Wood Village to put up a station, as I understand it, and house a 4-person company, not sure if it's an engine or a truck. The next closest Clackamas Fire resources come from Damascus and Boring. The rest of their department is much further away. Therefore, their support is coming from 20 minutes away or longer. Clackamas Fire suggests that they will look to Gresham Fire to provide mutual aid. So to understand this correctly, Gresham Fire will potentially suffer cuts and then be called upon to help with our then reduced staffing and resources. What could go wrong, right? You may remember a plane crash that happened just a year ago, August, in Fairview. That incident went to 5 alarms before we received aid from Clackamas Fire. Vancouver Fire arrived to help from across the river before Clackamas Fire did. Our Troutdale Fire Station houses East County's water rescue team, which responds to the Sandy and Columbia rivers. It is one of the busiest teams Gresham Fire has, running over 40 calls a year, and we have responded to around a dozen calls for service on the Sandy River alone since the beginning of this July. Think about the implications of that team potentially going away. Clackamas Fire will cost more in the first 2 years than the proposed contract with Gresham Fire, and they own no assets in East County. So the 3 cities would still have to acquire land, build a station, purchase fire engines, and attempt to convince your voters that it would be in their best interest to vote for an annex in the Clackamas Fire District, which it is obviously not. We strongly encourage you to work collaboratively between the 4 cities and with District 10. I'm not here to advocate for District 10. That is all of your folks' job is to sit down and work together. But just looking at District 10, if your citizens annex into that, they own Fire Station 75 in Troutdale. They own Station 76 at 302nd in Dodge Park. They own our training grounds. They own 2 fire engines and a brush rig. All of those assets you can give to your public by annexing into them potentially. Clackamas Fire offers you nothing. They're just saying sign up for a contract and we'll be there for you. Ask Estacada how that worked out for them. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you very much. And next we have Keston Kim Pruitt. Thank you very much.
Good evening, my name is Keston Kim. I'm with the County Chief of Gresham Fire. I've been serving the 4 cities for the last 2 decades. We're here today to address a critical issue, the proposal for Clackamas Fire to assume responsibility for fire services in the 3 cities currently served by Gresham Fire. I stand before you to articulate why this consolidation is a terrible idea with significant risks, and it's important to note that both fire unions are united against this takeover. Let's begin with what we stand to lose in terms of immediate life, state and resources. Currently, we have immediate and local access to 6 engines, 2 rescues, 1 truck, and 2 chiefs, comprehensive force ready to respond to any emergency. The proposal from Clackamas Fire Chief, however, suggests a stark and dangerous reduction, initially a near 1 engine for all 3 cities. This is not just a reduction, it's a huge diminishment of our protection that will undeniably impact public safety. This leads directly to the critical issue of longer response times. Clackamas Fire's main operation are multiple fire management areas away from our communities. This distance means that during a major incident requiring more than a single engine, we will be waiting significantly longer for adequate support. Every second counts in an emergency. A 20-minute plus response time, as some estimates suggest for full support, is simply unacceptable, and when lives and property are on the line. In conclusion, the proposition to transfer fire service is dangerous gamble with public safety and financial stability. It promises higher costs, less oversight, downgraded resources, a critical reduction in immediate and local resources that protect us, leaving us vulnerable with no contingency. I ask you to pause and reevaluate your decision to sign with Clackamas Fire. Instead, I ask you to work with local resources and find a solution. Clackamas Fire's admin promises of protection depends fully on Gresham Fire's resources. That is not full coverage, that's subsidized risk. And I ask you to say no to Chief Brown's tactical pause on public safety. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We do appreciate everybody that came down today. I think it just, for a point of clarification, just to make sure that we're all on the same page, we're actually just in an information gathering stage. That's all we're doing at this point. We have until the end of this calendar year to even choose a direction. So during the next few months, city manager, myself, along with the city managers and mayors of Wood Village and Troutdale, have been meeting and will continue to meet with all parties. So there is no imminent decision at this time. Even to the best of my knowledge, there's not been a proposal. So we are just in an information gathering stage. That is exactly where we're at this point. With that being said, I truly appreciate hearing from you guys. I think it's good to hear directly from you as opposed to through other people or through other sources. I'll speak on behalf of council. We appreciate the words, we appreciate the voices, and we appreciate the fact that you have been you've been terrifically serving our community for 4 decades. And we do appreciate that. That has not gone unnoticed. But with that, we just have a lot of decisions ahead, but at this point, we still have more information to gather. Anything from our city manager?
Mayor, I just wanted to say that, and just to echo what the mayor said, the 4 cities have been working very collaboratively. I've been meeting with city managers. Chief Menard is in those meetings, every single one. Finance Director for Gresham is in there. We met with Fire District 10, we met with Fire District 1, we met with meeting with multiple entities. I believe we're meeting with your union representative next week. So we did, I want you to know from the very beginning, Mayor Schmidt, after, back up a few months ago, after the 3 cities had met, there's some concerns regarding payment and how things going on. Mayor Schmidt sat in the room and he said, look, here's 7 different ideas. It's not about prioritizing, let's just explore all these ideas. And that's what we've been doing. We've literally been exploring different ideas and going through and looking at them. So, and I appreciate it. I know I had a chance to talk with Travis and Ryan and of course Kevin. And I'm more than happy to talk with anyone who wants to come talk to me. I work full time here, so I'm here. But I also wanted to say, Mayor, if I may, I don't know if anybody else wanted to speak to it, I just want to remind you that. In case I don't think anybody else will listen.
I signed up, that apparently didn't get through, so.
I just want to check on that.
Yeah.
Good evening again. For the record, I'm Kevin Larson. I'm the proud president of the Gresham Firefighters that provide public service to communities of Blue Village and Greenview, and Troutdale, Gresham, and District 10. The Gresham Fire Department has been serving these communities for over 40 years, just like everybody else says. In these times of senior citizens and the times of glee at their schools and the neighborhood functions, also at their worst times. We pride ourselves for being prepared for any emergencies, including fire, auto accidents, medical emergencies, and providing a fire marshal's office that prevents emergencies from happening. Our lane is public safety and firefighter safety, which we are all in alignment of. We agree we need faster response times, more facilities, and firefighters. We have been advocating for this for a decade now. We are happy that 3 cities are now engaging in this conversation again. Like you, I was also at the Safer Council. I actually presented to the group that was there. We are here today to show we are concerned about the 4-alarm dumpster fire that's happening, and what fire service looks like in East County. The proposal under review will leave businesses less safe with longer response times and cost more money. Portland Local 43, Gresham Professional Firefighters Local 1062, Clackamas Professional Firefighters 1159 all oppose this. Gresham firefighters recognize the need for change. We believe any path forward should include sustainable long-term funding, fair representation for all cities and all stakeholders, collaboration for additional resources, staffing, and fire stations. Structures that are presented by Clackamas are just unsafe. Unexhausted list. Gresham Fire responds with 18 to 28 firefighters to a typical house fire and department fire. We deploy tactics to save lives, property, and spread the fires to any other location. Clackamas Fire District, they may send 7 firefighters. It's a prime example of the downgrading fire service. Mutual aid cannot be used as your primary source of fire coverage. Even if Gresham provides fire backup services, coverage gaps will grow along with response times, which create fire service downgrade. Water resources are the most time-critical emergencies. Glen Auto Park, for example, sees multiple drownings or near drownings a year. Delayed response will happen and due to long travel times. Because water rescue resources will be so far away, it will knowingly put your citizens at risk. Life safety inspections and plan reviews, currently performed regularly, are essential to community safety. Clackamas County does not provide these due to staffing shortages and lack of capacity. The current Clackamas Fire proposal undermines partnerships with Gresham firefighters, Portland firefighters, Clackamas firefighters, Oregon State Firefighter Council, and the International Association of Firefighters. We have all agreed that this proposal is not going in the right direction and puts the community's safety at risk, as well as the firefighters that serve you. Gresham Local 1062 is in alignment with the goals of all 3 cities. However, it's imperative we come together to create an everlasting solution. We owe it to our community that we serve every day to have a reliable fire service without compromising the lives of our citizens.
Very much. All right. Do we have any comments from council? Okay, well, thank you very much. We really appreciate you being here. With that, we, there's one more agenda item. Motion to adjourn. It is. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Are you sure you don't want to say no this time?
I save it for discussion.
Okay.
I have to say, when I was doing the minutes, it was kind of fun to put that